You're remarkably composed, considering everyone is laughing at you.
The Hallberg estate sat on a cliff overlooking the Atlantic, a monument to old money and inherited power. White marble pillars framed the entrance, and a fleet of luxury cars lined the circular driveway like trophies. Inside, chandeliers dripped gold light over a sea of designer gowns and tailored suits. The wealth in the room wasn't just visible, it was loud, suffocating, unquestioned. Tonight was the Hallberg Winter Gala, an invitation-only event where billionaires, politicians, and industry giants gathered to network behind champagne glasses and polite smiles. But beneath the elegance was something colder: hierarchy, power, and an unspoken rule about who belonged. Amara Cole stepped out of a black car at the edge of the driveway, unnoticed at first. She wore a simple but striking deep emerald gown, her natural curls pulled back into a sleek bun. Her presence was calm, controlled, but her eyes observed everything. To the untrained eye, she was just another guest. To those who knew her name, she was a force. But the Hallbergs didn't know her. Amara handed her invitation to the attendant, who hesitated longer than necessary before letting her pass. That small pause, it wasn't new to her. She had learned long ago that wealth could open doors, but prejudice still tried to close them. Inside, conversations hushed slightly as she entered. "Who invited her?" someone whispered. Amara ignored it. She moved through the room with quiet confidence, taking in faces, scanning alliances, noting power dynamics. She wasn't there for the champagne. She wasn't there for the spectacle. She was there for business. At the center of the room stood Victor Hallberg, the patriarch. Tall, silver-haired, and radiating entitlement. Around him were his children, Ethan, sharp-tongued and arrogant, Clarissa, polished but cutting, and Daniel, quieter but no less complicit. The Hallbergs owned Hallberg Holdings, a conglomerate spanning energy, tech, and real estate. Their influence reached governments. Their mistakes were buried with money. Amara approached the group. "Mr. Hallberg," she said, her voice calm. "I believe we have mutual interests in the Lagos Energy Expansion Project." Victor looked at her slowly, eyes narrowing, not in curiosity, but in dismissal. "I don't believe we've met," he replied. Amara Cole. The name meant nothing to him. Ethan smirked. "And what exactly do you do, Ms. Cole?" "I build things," she said simply. Clarissa let out a soft laugh. "That's vague." Amara met her gaze. "Only to people who don't understand the industry." The air tightened. Victor took a sip of his drink, then leaned slightly closer. "This project is not experimental. We deal with established players." Amara didn't flinch. "So do I." Ethan chuckled. "Let me guess, you're here representing some diversity quota investment firm?" A few nearby guests laughed under their breath. There it was. Not subtle. Not hidden. Direct. Amara held his gaze. "No. I'm here because I own 32% of the infrastructure backing that project." Silence. But only for a second. Then Clarissa smiled thinly. "That's impressive, if it's true." Victor waved a dismissive hand. "Even if it were, we prefer partners with legacy." The word hung in the air. Legacy. Translation, not you. A few people turned to watch now. Ethan stepped closer, lowering his voice just enough to make it more humiliating. "Look, this isn't your crowd. I'm sure you've done well for yourself, but this level, this is different." Then came the line that shifted everything. "You're out of your depth." Laughter followed. Not loud, but enough. Enough to make a statement. Amara stood still. For a moment, it looked like she might respond emotionally. That she might argue. Instead, she smiled. It was small. Controlled. "Thank you," she said. Victor frowned slightly. "For what?" "For showing me exactly who I'm dealing with." She turned and walked away, the whispers following her like shadows. To everyone else, it looked like defeat. Like she had been put in her place. But outside, as she stepped into the cold night air, Amara pulled out her phone. Her expression changed. No anger. No embarrassment. Just precision. "Activate phase 1, she said. On the other end, a voice replied, "Understood." Amara looked back at the glowing mansion. "They should have done their research," she murmured. Then she got into her car and left. By morning, nothing seemed different. The Hallbergs woke up in silk sheets, their empire intact. News outlets still praised their influence. Markets opened as usual. But beneath the surface, something had shifted. At exactly 9 a.m., 3 major financial institutions quietly pulled out of a joint venture tied to Hallberg Holdings. By 9:30, a regulatory audit was announced on one of their largest energy subsidiaries. By 10:15, a leak hit the press, documents exposing questionable land acquisitions in West Africa. Victor Hallberg was in his office when the first call came. Then the second. Then 10 more. "What do you mean they pulled funding?" he snapped into the phone. Across the city, Ethan stared at his screen as Hallberg's stock dipped, just slightly at first. "Dad," he said, trying to stay calm. "This is coordinated." Clarissa walked in, tablet in hand. "It's not just financial. Legal teams are getting flooded. Someone is hitting every weak point we have." Victor's jaw tightened. "Find out who." By noon, the stock drop was no longer small. It was sharp. Investors panicked. Media attention exploded. And then, at 1 p.m., the name surfaced. Amara Cole. Not as a guest. Not as a stranger. But as the CEO of Cole Global Infrastructure, a multinational powerhouse operating quietly across continents. Energy grids. Telecommunications. Logistics networks. A company valued at over $80 billion. A company that had recently acquired controlling interest in multiple firms connected to Hallberg projects. Including the Lagos expansion. Victor stared at the screen, disbelief cracking his composure. That's not possible. But it was. Amara hadn't just attended the gala. She had walked into their world already holding leverage. And now she was using it. By evening, the damage was undeniable. $5 billion in losses. Contracts frozen. Reputation shattered. And the worst part? It was all legal. All strategic. All precise. No chaos. Just consequences. That night, Victor requested a meeting. Amara agreed. The same mansion. The same room. But this time, the power had shifted. Amara entered, calm as ever. No whispers now. No laughter. Only silence. Victor stood as she approached. "Miss Cole, there seems to have been a misunderstanding." Amara tilted her head slightly. "Was there?" Ethan looked like he wanted to speak, but didn't. Clarissa avoided eye contact. Victor forced a smile. "We may have underestimated your position." Amara's gaze was steady. "Not just my position." Silence. Then she stepped closer. "You underestimated my patience." Her words landed heavier than any insult. Victor exhaled slowly. "What do you want?" Amara didn't answer immediately. She let the silence stretch, just long enough. Then. Accountability. She placed a document on the table. Terms. strict, unforgiving, fair. You will withdraw from all exploitative contracts in regions you've abused, she said. You will restructure your operations under ethical compliance. And you will publicly acknowledge your misconduct. Ethan finally spoke. And if we don't? Amara looked at him. This time, there was no smile. Then today was just the beginning. No one doubted her. Because now they knew exactly who she was. Victor signed. Not because he wanted to. But because he had no choice. As Amara walked out of the mansion, the same cold air greeted her. But this time, there were no whispers. Only respect. Not given freely. Earned. She paused at the top of the steps, looking out at the city lights. They laughed, she said quietly. Then she got into her car. And it cost them everything.